Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, three American romance novelists discussing all things K-romance from a writer's lens. We fangirl over our favorite actors and actresses, talk up our trope addictions, and nerd out on K-drama deep dives. We'll throw in a few K-pop and K-skincare recs for good measure, because why not ride the Hallyu wave all the way to shore? So grab some tteokbokki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there. Leah, I feel like you're disappearing more and more. I wish everybody could see you right now.
I'm
Leah's
very
in a different
backlit.
spot. Yeah, she's in a different spot than she normally is, and she's very backlit, and it looks like she's in the witness protection program. And so I feel like we should put an effect on your voice just to protect you even further.
Like the voice disguiser.
So growing up, my mom was obsessed with Peter Jennings, the news anchor. And it reminds me of watching ABC, we lived for ABC News, with Peter Jennings. And I remember they always would do, the backlit, Iran Contra affair would be happening, and there'd be, a backlit person with, a robotic voice, giving their story. That's how I feel. Anyway, unexpected detour there. So yeah, how is everyone? I know that, there's a lot of lice in Megan's house, and she doesn't want to talk about it.
We're all drinking right now, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean...
I'm done drinking. I drink quickly.
I combed lice out of my daughter's hair today. I'm over it. I mean, we first discovered it a week ago, and it's hard to get rid of. And I want to scream. I itch all over my body. And yeah, I'm drinking because after doing all that, I'm just over it. I mean, the good thing is that, you both had advice, because lice, I feel like anyone that has a kid in school, has had some sort of run-in with lice or some sort of, story about it. So at least you guys gave me very good advice today, and that was actually what I tried this afternoon, and it worked a lot better. Basically, slathering her head in conditioner and combing it out. So, I don't know. If your kid has lice, there you go.
With
Cover
the
it with conditioner.
And knit comb
it out. Yeah. But... she cried because, it hurts her head to comb. So I'm more than happy to talk about a K-drama tonight, because I don't want to talk about real life, basically.
I know. I'm drinking because I had a kindergartner in my class today try to throw a chair at me, so that was fun.
A kid hawked out on you.
Totally hulked out on me. I'm kind of over this whole education thing. after 21 years, I've had my fill.
Oh my God. Well, we're real uppers tonight.
I
know, right?
I'm sad. I'm sorry.
So I'm in a pretty good place, everyone.
Good. Tell us about it.
She's just drinking because she didn't want to feel left out.
Yeah, because you guys said I'm drinking, and I was like, well, I guess I'm going to make a little gin and tonic post-drink cocktail.
Okay. Well, you tell us something good then.
Well, let's see. I just, I got back from seeing BTS, Permission to Dance. I'm going to be recording a pod about that. So I feel like my bucket was heaped up for the end of 2021, which was great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and since then I've gotten a little dorked out in ways that look, I just wasn't prepared for. So BTS they all got their own Instagrams, just like Big Boys this week. So that's been a real, I know, I was just they're grown ass fucking almost 30-year-old men, and they got their own Instagrams.
I know.
But they're also incredibly endearing, and I've enjoyed watching the foray into that. And so yeah, I don't know. I felt besides having BTS be really fun, I just had a really good trip in LA with my daughter. LA is a town that I had not really spent much time in, which is weird living in California for 11 years. But it's just a traffic hellhole, polluted nightmare in my mind. And I actually quite liked it. I would definitely go back. We had a fun time. And I wanted to tell a couple of random non-BTS things that we did that were exciting.
Yeah, please.
We stayed in this old apartment building hotel, so it looked like Melrose Place, basically. They were hotel rooms, but they were old apartments from old Hollywood days, so we were in Hollywood. and they were centered around a swimming pool. And I felt like I was literally in like Melrose Place. And they had at the pool a red telephone. And if you picked up the phone, they would deliver you a red popsicle on a silver tray. So my daughter thought that was like the frickin' money. And I was like, oh my God, like for like, and I mean, this wasn't like some like fancy hotel, but they just like made some pretty like generous choices that were like probably not breaking the bank for them. Like they had like an ice cream machine that you could use 24/7. They had like a soda, one of those like touchscreen soda machines you could use 24/7. So like, you know, it's like I just let it all go out the window like 10 o'clock at night. Bronchi's like, I want Sprite. It was like, fuck, who cares? You could go up to the front desk.
It's caffeine free.
Yeah, you could go up to the front desk and they had like 40 snacks that you could just get. Like she would come back with like Snickers and microwave popcorn and Doritos, and I was just like,
I want to go to this hotel.
Right?
Yeah,
and
me
then
too.
It was connected to this place called the Magic Castle, so it was the Magic Castle Hotel. I'm like giving it a free
You were
shout
at
out.
the Magic Castle?
And so then
oh
we
my
went
gosh.
to the Magic Castle, which was next door, which is like this invite-only private magic club.
How'd you get in then?
Because I guess if you stay at the hotel, you can ask to get put on like the list to get in.
The list! I love it!
And they have like a children's brunch on the weekends. So at night, I think it's like a cocktail dress, like fancy go in. And it's a freaking crazy, like you can't have your phone out. It's just very like yoldy worldy, but like magician-y. And like red velvet everywhere, very dark paneling. And then there's like all these rooms where like random magic's happening and you can just like watch people like doing magic. So it was super fun. So we did that and we had to like dress up for brunch and go to that. We went to Koreatown. You know, my daughter got to practice some Korean. She was told she was pretty a few times because she's got a little head. And so, you know, it's the beauty standards. We went to the La Brea tar pits and saw that 'cause for some reason I'd always wanted to see what the tar pits looked like. They were a little underwhelmed. I mean, they're fascinating, but I think I was expecting like bubbly death tar. And it was just kind of like a pond with like an oil slick on it. But I mean, still cool. I mean, it's in downtown LA and they're like pulling out like mastodons and giant sloths and dire wolves. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
So anyway, I think that LA would be a fun trip in the future. If BTS, when they come back, I think that, you know, everyone needs to pull it out this time because really I can't say.
I would totally. I love California and I love like all the kitschy like Hollywood stuff. Like I think that's super fun.
Yes, I will. Next time, I will. And we will be discussing this coming up a little bit, but Leah convinced me then... Well, not convinced me, but, like, the amount of joy she got out of this... Gave me permission to formally buy the AT's tickets I've been wanting to buy. But it's just funny because you're, like, telling all these great stories about LA, and, like, the AT's concert is in New Jersey. So, no offense if you're from New Jersey.
Everyone in New Jersey right now is like, oh.
I know, but look, I live in Pennsylvania, so I'm not being hoity-toity. It's not, I don't really want to travel here either. But it's funny because you're like, we got to do all this cool stuff, and I'm like, I'm staying at like a small Hilton with my daughter for like one night in Newark, New Jersey to take her to this concert. But that's okay. We'll still have a good time. I think we're going to take a train, so that will be exciting. Good old Amtrak if you're, you know, from around here.
Maybe you'll have some zombies on there.
Yeah, I was going to say the last
train to Newark.
Train to New York.
Train to
New York. Oh God.
Oh God. So anyway.
All right. Well,
that should bring it back into K-drama.
Yeah. Right.
Train to Newark.
It'll be a blockbuster.
Oh my gosh! Now I'm just trying to think of like who would star in Train to Newark. Who would be the hero of Train to Newark?
Like the Jonas Brothers. They're from New Jersey.
I was going to say
Nick Jonas is an actor.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, isn't he from Jersey?
No, he's Canadian.
No, he's Canadian.
Oh, you're right. He's Canadian. Wait,
he just got this like award, this like Canada award thing.
You're right. I knew
like,
that.
The most famous. Timothy Chalamet, because he's in like every single movie ever all of a sudden.
He is. He's in everything.
Like, honestly, every movie I looked at, like, I'm going to hopefully do a date night with my husband tomorrow night, and I was, like, looking at movies, And he's like in the new Wes Anderson movie. He's in the Don't Look Up movie. He's in Dune. I'm like, literally,
Yeah,
save
Timothée
some for
Chalamet
the-
is everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, save some for the rest of everybody, buddy. He's gonna like saturate himself.
Right.
No shade on him. I mean, good. You
No.
get yours.
I
Buy that
mean-
place in Malibu or whatever.
Oh wait, Bruce Willis is from New Jersey. Yes,
Oh,
I
Bruce
just
Willis
looked
would
up.
totally be trained in New
Except
York.
that would make it awesome. It would be.
Yeah,
good if it
that's
was-
true.
Like it would make it better than it had any.
Right, I'm trying to think of who would be like, you know, sort of like a B level like actor for because you know, like Trained in New York. That's what it's going to be, right? Trained in New York.
Last Train to New York is going to be the remake.
Again, no shade on Jersey. I'm just trying to.
Hey
be funny.
guys, Meryl Streep is from Jersey.
She's not fighting zombies though.
No,
I mean,
I'm sorry for a second. I have to be super classy here and crack open my White Claw.
Hey, Tom Cruise is from Jersey.
Boo. I mean,
And Anne Hathaway,
our agents.
Ray Liotta.
Okay, Ray Liotta would be a.
Ray Liotta. That's it.
Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci
Joe Pesci.
are both from New Jersey.
Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci fighting zombies.
Zombies. Please, I need it.
So I
Oh
always.
god.
And here's like something that's embarrassing when I like pretend like I like know my geography because I do know it, but I always forget that there is a Jersey, like that it's on the ocean.
It is.
Like,
There's
there's
Jersey Shore.
actually a whole Jersey Shore, but like I always forget, like, oh yeah, fuck, there's like oceanfront Jersey. I don't
So
know.
there's an Ocean City, Maryland, which it's, you know, like a resort town. And then there's also an Ocean City, New Jersey, which is not the Jersey Shore. Ocean City, New Jersey is actually a dry town. I vacation there with my family. So if you go out to dinner, you can't like order alcohol. I mean, you can like,
Is that like
Why would
Bring
you
it
go
in.
there? Why would you go there?
well,
How do you,
you
even
can bring it in.
How do you legislate that?
It just can't be sold within the town.
But how?
So you
Like,
can
how
bring
do
it
they-
in.
But how do you even make like your town like this? Isn't like the 1918 or 1918 or whatever.
I think it's always been a
But
dry town.
there are like college towns that are like that are like dry
Really?
campuses. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think and like don't quote me on this because I didn't go, but I had some friends who did who went to Indiana University. I'm pretty sure Indiana was a dry campus.
Wait, like
Yeah,
the
oh, yeah.
University of?
Like Indiana University, and you couldn't buy alcohol in the town.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I've heard
this
of dry
up.
campuses too. But Ocean City, New Jersey, it's not bad. It's funny because you have to like cross like a really long bridge to get into it. And right before you cross the bridge, there's like a massive like liquor beer store. Because everyone like buys it and then just takes it in. And you can like obviously drink in your home. It's just
Well,
within the
there's-
city limits, which isn't really that big. You
There's
can't
even
buy
dry counties apparently. So look at this map here. The dry places
Okay.
are here. So for some reason, it's disproportionately in the south. Anyway, okay,
That's
this
a
is not
lot.
this is not making for good podcast listening. Anyway, if you
Well,
live
I
in
don't know. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but I'm showing pictures. Being like, look at this map.
Oh yeah.
People are at home like, why am I listening to this? Anyway, who's got a
What are
good
we even
segue
here
to
for
it?
today,
Yeah.
folks? Why are we here?
Why are we here?
What is the purpose of it all? That's what you ask.
Existential
After you've been-
crisis.
Yes, existential crisis. This is what
That's
happens.
a good segue, actually. It's a good
It
segue
is.
into this episode. So let's do it.
Which is
Yeah.
Go Back Couple is a 2017 drama based on a 2016 webtoon called Do It One More Time, which sounds like a Backstreet Boys song.
Yeah.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, married couple Choi Ban-do, played by Son Ho-jun, and Ma Jin-joo, played by Jang Na-ra, they are 38 years old, and they're raising a toddler in Seoul. And both of them are on the struggle bus because the day-to-day grind of their lives is just like gnawing through the fiber of their relationships. So Bando is a pharmaceutical salesman, and he's spending his days shilling medicine and his evenings either drinking with annoying prospective clients or helping a narcissistic and adulterous hospital director get action on the side while evading his wealthy sugar mama wife. Not very fulfilling. Meanwhile, Jin Joo is a housewife who is hardly living her best life, sleeping in and going to yoga classes. Instead, she's covered in food and possibly spit up while struggling to find meaning in her life and coping with the death of her beloved mother. So, one little thing after another has piled up, and finally, their foundation cracks and they decide they're getting a divorce. Except fate throws a wrench in their plans in the most unexpected of ways.
See, Bando and Jin Joo wake up to find themselves as 20-year-old university students poised at the moment they meet, but with all the memories of the next 18 years of their lives still intact. They can choose a new path, new loves, first loves, or other possibilities. However, if they do, then their beloved son can never be born. Dun, dun, dun. How did we come to watch this drama?
So this was recommended by a friend of the pod, one of our Patreon members, Grace, who has just kind of raved about this drama as, like a gem that she doesn't hear getting talked about nearly enough. And given that, we've had some good luck with some unappreciated gems, namely I Am Not a Robot, Into the Ring, I think all of our ears perked up to see what the fuss was about.
I would say we're so grateful that she recommended this because we all came out of this with some really big feelings, in a good way. So thank you, Grace.
Yes, thank you. This will stick with me for a while.
Yeah. And we really do appreciate recommendations, and, we take them on board. So, if you feel bad if you've made a recommendation to us and we haven't done it yet, we have made a list of every time someone gives us a recommendation, we put it on the list. It's just this one seemed like it was short. It kind of hit us all in a place we were ready to watch it. But I do just want to also throw out for the 10,000 people plus who recommended My Mister, we got you. That's happening in 2022.
Yeah, we promise. We promise.
among others. But really, I don't think I've had any drama recommended as much as My Mister, and that will happen. But right now, tonight, it is time for Go Back Couple. So, Amy, what trope would you say this drama is, and how does it have a fresh spin that separates it from many other K-dramas?
So I was trying to think of what to call this, and I think it's pretty simple. It's a time travel second chance romance. But what's unique about this drama is that all the romance dramas we've watched so far have been about couples first falling in love. Sure, some of these couples might have that we met as children but forgot about each other until fate brings us back together. But ultimately, they're all falling in love for the first time. Whereas in Go Back Couple, we see Bando and Jin Joo at the point in their relationship where both are at the end of their rope. They've forgotten why they love each other, what they love about each other. They've forgotten how to be there for each other, and they've forgotten that they once made each other happy. And all they can see at present is what they've sacrificed for each other and what they've lost. When they go back to the year they met, even though they try to avoid ending up together again, we see who they were before life got in the way. And we see how and why they fell in love. And it's the ultimate second chance romance with a super fun, magical, or maybe sci-fi twist. And it's something that we haven't seen before, seeing a couple at the end of their relationship and then going back and finding out, if they're so unhappy, why did they even end up together in the first place? And I really love that about this. So yeah, it's a very interesting twist on the second chance romance.
Yeah, because I would even say at the beginning, they're bringing out the worst in each other. I mean, they truly are unhappy. This is not, they're unhappy with each other. There is underlying resentments that are unresolved. And at the beginning, I'm like, yeah, you guys probably shouldn't, be together, or at least you definitely need some separation. So it was interesting to see how they went back and how they kind of repaired, what they lost in each other.
So Jong Kiyong is 11 years younger than Jong Na-ra, but played Jin Joo's second male lead, which meant he had to pretend to be a bit older and more world-weary in many ways. And this is in real life, he was so worried that viewers may not buy him as playing this role that he apparently printed photos of Na-ra and posted them all over his house, even his front door, so that he could get more used to hanging out with her. So, first question, Megan, is this the most precious behind the scenes story we've ever heard of to date? And how did this actor's performance stack up against his newer role that you recently watched in My Roommate is a Gumio?
So, yeah, this is incredibly precious. So he does look extremely young in this drama. That was kind of one of the things that struck me. And especially because I recently saw him in My Roommate is a Gumio, and he is a 900-year-old something Gumio, and he kind of acts like it. I will say, I thought his chemistry and acting with Jang Nara was really wonderful. He definitely excels at playing like a slightly aloof, closed-off character, which I think suits his looks perfectly. I would say he just looks like rich royalty. Like, I don't really know how to describe it, but he just looks rich. He just looks like he should always be wearing like a 3-piece suit, an expensive trench coat. But I do think those are the roles he's best at. I do think that's what he tends to gravitate to. So I definitely saw like obviously a difference in the acting, but I thought he played a wonderful character. I thought he did really well in his role.
When I read this in the script, I was blown away. And not because I don't think he looks young, like he looks his age, but I could not believe that Jang Nara was 11 years older than him, because she looked like his age contemporary in this. Like, I believed her as a 38-year-old, struggling mother who was unhappy, but I also believed that when they went back in time that she was 20 years old. Like, she pulled off both ages.
How?
Her skin is it's the most flawless thing I've ever seen. I don't know what she's drinking, but I want it.
Mm-hmm. So a question for all three of us. If you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what would you do differently or not?
So I cheated a little bit. I'm going to say I like to go back a couple of more years to 18, because I think technically, like, we start college at 18 and they start at 20, so I think it's still the same stage in life. And I would take a gap year. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing when I was graduating high school. When I was getting ready to go to college, I had no idea why I was going, other than that was just what you did after high school. Like, I literally applied to 4 different Midwestern colleges under 4 different majors. And when I got into all 4, I chose the home school, University of Illinois, because I was like, why am I going to ask my parents to pay for me to go out of state when I have no idea why I'm going? Like, I literally had no idea what I wanted to do with myself because I was 18. And I changed my major a million times and finally ended up as a liberal arts English major with one main goal: to study abroad for the entire year of my junior year, which I did. I lived in Scotland. But then I graduated with an English degree, which didn't do me much good until I went back to school for 2 more years to get my teaching certification. So long story short is that it was a long and winding road for me to end up as a writer and also an educator right now, which we all know I'm not loving at the moment. And I'm glad I'm here. Like, I'm glad I am where I am, but I think that I could have maybe avoided some detours along the way had I known that there was a sort of option to take a year and kind of find myself. And like, as cheesy or hokey as that sounds, like, I didn't know what I wanted out of life, and how cool would it have been. Like, now, like, my daughter's a sophomore in high school, and now, like, I get emails from like the college counseling department, like, here's, this program they can take a look at. Here's this program. And like, look at here, they can get some information about gap year programs. And like, that's like a thing now. And I really wish I knew that was an option, because I definitely would not have gone right to school.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think a lot, like, if I could go back, I think I would have wanted, I think I would have wished I traveled more, but then, like, I didn't have the money to travel. So like, who was I kidding? Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, yeah, I wish I would have like studied abroad or all that kind of stuff. But I think more than anything, more on like a personal level, I wish that I mean, maybe we all think this, but I think I really wish I would have cared much less about what other people think.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, I think that was like the biggest thing. I just wish that I hadn't tried so hard to fit in. And I wish that, I bought the clothes I wanted to. I acted the way I wanted to. I joined the clubs that I wanted to. And I don't know. I didn't do things because I wish I didn't do all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I wish I just did things because I loved it. And it's like, I'm 38 now, and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm buying whatever obnoxious clothes that I want to buy. I don't care. And I'm, gonna shout my love of K-pop, and I don't care anymore what people think, and it's just a little bit more refreshing. So I don't know, man. Youth is great, but I don't know. I kind of like being my age too. So this is a hard question for me.
I would say super cliche, but youth is wasted on the young.
It is. It is.
They don't get it. We didn't get it. I didn't get it.
I didn't get it either. God, you know what? I wish I would have taken boudoir photos. That's what I wish I would have done. My 20-year-old boobs were so good. That's all. That's my...
And that kind of is a nice segue into what I was going to say, which is like, look, I would have shot all my shots until I was like an empty gun barrel. Because I just don't realize... Like, I look back now and I'm like, you know, I kind of... Like, I was not bad looking. And I could have probably, like, gotten it a little more. Not that I, like, didn't. I'm just saying I could have done, like, more than I even, like, dreamed I could have.
Confidence is a tricky fucking thing, isn't it? Like,
It is.
I think that a lot, too.
And now I'm like, ugh, fucking haggard as shit. But anyway, so let's see. This is like, yeah, challenging for me too, because like, do I have some regrets? Like, of course, absolutely. But like, I also feel like the same thing you all said, which is I don't want to upset the balance of like space and time and erase my children from existence. But I'm going to like pretend for a minute like that doing that won't happen. So look, I think for me, I met Nick, my husband, when I was 20, and I'm not sad about that. But I can't deny the fact that because I invested in, you know, a long-term relationship at an age when I was barely an adult, I, like, made many choices with our coupleness in mind or prioritizing his needs actively. So, and that's not to say, like, he didn't have to do the same, but this is, like, my story. And so...
my time.
My time.
you have the mic. He has no mic.
He doesn't even listen to this podcast, so this is my time, my story, my stuff. So, like, I think what I wish is that, like, I could have had some more independence and time to, like, work and seek jobs, like, that just were, like, purely what I was, like, looking to do, and travel alone more, which I, like, have been lucky to travel alone, you know, quite a bit, but I really love to travel by myself. It's like one of my favorite things to do. I also wish that I'd done things like gone to teach English in South Korea or China like I had planned on, because I went and got my certificate of English language teaching to adults. And like that was going to be like in the cards for me. And then I decided that I didn't want to be separated from Nick more. And I'm saying this because like we weren't a couple that was joined at the hip at this time. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, I've got this boyfriend and I can't leave him. It was like he would spend over 6 months on an island in the subantarctic, and he did that over like a number of years. And then I was like American with like a shoddy visa coming back and forth, like continental hopping, trying to make it work. So like sometimes the idea would be like, oh, and I'd really like to like go teach like, yeah, English in like northern China, or like I think South Korea was also on my list. But I was like, fuck, man, like if I do that, like I'm never gonna like ever see my like boyfriend, fiance, now husband. And so, you know what I mean? Like it just became this thing, but like I was constantly hustling to make the relationship work, and not just being this like selfish asshole, which is sort of what I imagine is probably pretty rad about being like 21.
You're brave to like say that, because I would say I have similar thoughts. I got together with Neil when I was 18, and we've really been together since. So, there are definitely things that I didn't do in favor of, not wanting to be separated, wanting to like stay in the relationship, not wanting to do long distance. Because I'm the same. I love to travel alone. Before the pandemic, I was going to signings maybe 2 or 3 times a year and flying alone. And I have to say, it was like my absolute favorite thing. I mean, except flying home from New Orleans when it tried to kill me, and I had
oh my
multiple
God.
infections.
Staying with you at New Orleans was rough.
Yeah, so that was a different thing. But yeah, I would say I totally get where you're coming from, because I kind of did similar things. And it's not that I regret it, but I wish things could have been a little different, I guess.
Yeah, I wish I could just like insert somehow like
right.
Yes,
a couple of extra years I could have had to like do me.
Right. Totally agree. Totally. I think part of it is I'm doing that now. Like that's why I'm like, I'm acting out at 38, having a midlife crisis.
So another thing is that, we've all been young moms, like trying to like hack it with like our new identities as parents. And in what way did this drama resonate with you on that end?
I love that you say like that idea of like identity, because being a mom is the hardest yet best part of my life. But I remember in the very beginning, like literally like in the first like weeks, like thinking, oh my gosh, part of me is gone. Like part of my life, like part of my freedom. You kind of like mourn like that loss of the part of your life that you don't get to do anymore. And it's kind of like what we were just saying, like these years we wish we could insert and whatever. But like I would never change becoming a mom. Like I said, it's like the best thing. And even though sometimes I feel like I'm doing everything wrong, there is, for me, no love like the love that I have for my kids. And I'm grateful that they're in my life and have been for the past 16 years. So when this drama really hit me was the scene where Jin Joo, once she's back in time, and she and Bando are trying so hard to avoid each other, and like comically so, right? Like we're laughing at them, like, like he blows her off and basically says to her, in case you're not like sure of this, I'm blowing you off, and it's before she's sure if he's come back in time too, because at first, they don't know that, like that's a tiny little spoiler, but they find out right away. But like once they both know and they're still trying to avoid each other, they start realizing what like those implications are. And so there's this scene where they're both trying to avoid getting married, but then Jin Joo realizes that it means that their son, Sejin, won't exist. And that absolutely wrecked me. She's walking along a bridge and thinks that she sees her son smiling and running towards her, but then we realize that it's another toddler with his mother, and she collapses on the ground and is like letting loose these sort of like guttural howls. And I lost it. Like I was hysterical. I was bawling because I'm the one coming at this drama as a divorced mom. And my relationship with my kid's father might not have been the right relationship. And we weren't, fated mates or anything like that. But never once would I say that I regret that relationship because it gave me my son and my daughter. And so even though I said earlier that I'd make some changes if I could go back to my 20 or 18-year-old self, I would not change going through that marriage, because I would not change becoming a mom to the exact two souls and the exact two bodies that my kids are right now. And I'm going to start crying.
I know.
Saying that.
The way you put that was very cool. You always say things sometimes in this podcast, and I'm like, yep, Amy's a writer.
Thanks.
I mean, I completely agree. So the scenes of Jin Joo as a tired mom felt so incredibly real. I sometimes feel like shows or movies, when they depict busy moms, they're very much caricatures. Like crazy things are happening. Like sinks are overflowing and kids are screaming and like multiple things at once just to like show chaos, which is very much like a bull in a china shop way to show the chaos of parenthood. But I would say that the hardest part of motherhood or parenthood is like the daily ins and outs. And if you're a parent who's home with their child while your spouse is outside of the home working, it's the loneliness. And so to me, I love the like kind of quiet scenes where they just show her like eating, standing up while holding a baby, trying to like fold clothes and do household chores. When your child, the very opening scene where she's trying to go to the bathroom and the kid comes in, and they didn't make it like silly. They just made it very real. I felt like I was like at my own house. Like when, even now, I swear to God, my kids are 8 and 11, and I cannot like go to the bathroom where someone's like coming in. I'm like, are you serious right now? Anyway. Yeah, and it's her deciding to like get out of the house and enjoy the sunshine while pushing her baby stroller, and realize that she has like tangled hair and a stain on her clothes. Sometimes motherhood is this almost like disconnect with your own body because you are so focused on this like other little body that is an extension of you. And so those were the scenes that hit me the hardest because I fully empathized with Jin Joo. I've been her numerous times, and I felt like there's a real care there to show how hard, parenting can be, and like the loneliness of it without making it a joke.
I love that you bring up, that your kids even now walk in on you, like when you're going to the bathroom and stuff like that. Like my kids are almost 13 and 16. And if I were to walk into their bedrooms without knocking, all fucking hell would break loose. But they just walk into mine. And one day I heard my door opening and I was like, I think it was my son. And I was like, Connor, I'm like getting undressed to get in the shower. Like, what do you need? He's like, oh, well, you said you were coming to do like such and such. And I'm like, and then I was showering. Like, I knock on your door. Like, can you knock on, like, can I get that same courtesy? Like, again,
right.
Love my kids, but like, it's like out of sight, out of mind because they've always been doing it. Like,
They like, it's never anything important, by the way.
No.
My kid's always like he'll come bursting in and then he's like, what are we doing this weekend? And I'm like, and then I like lose my shit and I'm like, get out! Like, are you kidding me? I'm peeing.
My poor kids. I feel like my son, I'm like the one that like will come out without my pants on and be like, get a cup of coffee. And he's like, no! And I'm like, deal with it.
That's so you. It just doesn't surprise me at all.
But yeah, for me, I felt like same like that you just said, Megan, which is, that scene where Jin Joo is standing on the corner in a white t-shirt and like realizes that she's totally stained and is like trying to like cover it up. And it made me remember this like memory I'd kind of forgotten about, which is when my oldest was a baby, I can remember going down to this like beach park in Hawaii to nurse him, which sounds a lot more like romantic than it was. It was kind of like more of like an industrial beach park, but it was like close to where I was. And my sister was with me and I was just like out of my mind with exhaustion. And as we walked, and this was like my outing, right? Like I was like getting out of the house. So as we walked back to the house, I made it not one, not two, but 3 entire town blocks before realizing that my dress was tugged down around my waist. Like the top of my dress was hanging around my waist. Like my bra was fully, like I was just in my bra with like my like dress around my waist. And it was like this old navy blue and white striped dress that I could like, it was baggy and I could like shrug out of it to nurse. And I just like forgot to pull it back up. And so much was my state of like being just like WTF hot mess that my sister didn't even notice to tell me because she was just so used to me looking like that around the house. So like we like at one point I looked down, I'm like, oh my god, my bra. My sister's like, I didn't even notice. And so I was just like, that was where I was at. And we moved to Santa Cruz when my middle child was still a baby and my oldest was a toddler. And part of the move was that my husband was able to get this job that was equal to both of our salaries. And that meant that I became a stay-at-home mom. And I remember this was a period where, like, he had just leveled up in his career to take this, like, bigger job, and he was super stressed about it. And I was super stressed because, like, I'm not domestic on a good day, and it didn't take long until I was, like, climbing the walls and was lonely and was not getting a lot of, like, deep meaning out of, like, folding laundry and nap time. So did resentment and bitterness and misunderstandings pile up? Yes, a lot. And I mean, like, we still do therapy, and it's honestly all rooted probably back from, like, those beginning times, and, like, the fact that the two of us trying to run a household is a fraught affair. And, like, I think back to, like, when we were kid-free and, like, sleeping in and, like, going to the market on Sundays and, like, having fun, and, like, we never ever fought. And now we could be, like, ready to, like, cut a bitch over dishes. So, I mean, like, I get it.
Leo, your dress story made me think of, I mean, I'm sure you both did. Like, you remember the nursing bras where you could keep your bra on, but unsnap, like, the flaps or whatever?
Yeah, that's what I was wearing. Like, I was wearing that bra.
Your boobs would just be hanging out of a frame. And that's how I would...
Hanging out of a frame?
A boob frame. That's all it was. And I would walk around my house in, like, my boob frame, like my nursing bra, like unsnapped or whatever. Yep. And like people would come to visit and I would forget that I'm like literally boobs, like, cause I wouldn't have a shirt on. Cause like I had a hard time nursing my daughter on my first, well, I had a hard time nursing both of them, but the first time around I had a really hard time nursing. And so I would try nursing like every second she was able to. And so I just never had my boobs covered up. It was to the point like where relatives would come visit to see the baby for the first time. I'm like, you just have to understand my boobs are going to be out while you're here. Like, and I don't care. Like, and you have to not care.
Yeah, my body has never, that utilitarian, like, those sexy 20-year-old boobs just becoming udders.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, my daughter, so my second kid is my daughter, and so she was extremely attached to me. She needed fed every 2 hours, nursed every 2 hours for like the first 6 months. And I mean, I was like never separated from that child for 6 straight months. And so I just remember, like, everywhere we went, I was just nursing. Like, I was just a nursing factory for a solid 6 months. So yeah, everyone saw my boobs. Like, we went out to dinner with friends, they saw my boobs. Like, because you can only do so much. Like, and to be honest, by that time I was like, you're gonna all see them. I don't give a shit anymore.
Yep.
I nursed my third till I was 3. She was 3.
I know.
Like, I can't even believe it. Like, I just gave up at that point. I was like, is it long enough you can take into the other room and like just take with you around the house? Like, I freaking give up at this point. Just like,
Can you take it with you?
To go teat.
Can I go into the backyard, just like throw it out the window?
Like Rapunzel, let down your boob.
Oh my god. I do remember this one time, and then I'll let it go because I forgot this. But I remember the one time I really, like, I probably could have possibly, like, murdered my, like, without joke, like, maybe I could have, without hyperbole, was when we were trying to get my son to sleep by himself, like, in his own room. And we were just morons trying to like make this happen, and we could not get it together, and like I really didn't like him crying alone, blah blah blah. So it became this thing where we're like, I'm not gonna like feed him to sleep, I'm gonna like put him into bed. I don't even know what like we just had like all these like arbitrary rules that made sense because we were like stupid and exhausted. And one night my husband woke up and I wasn't there, and he found me on my hands and knees in my son's room because he'd woken up crying. And I had somehow gotten it into my mind, I can't get the baby out of the crib because we're not doing that. So I had jackknifed my boob through the bars of the crib. And my son was on his hands and knees. He was like 8 months or something, just like nursing the town. And I was just kind of like shoved against the thing, like not happy. And my husband came in and he's like, what the hell is happening? And I was like, get out.
Oh my god.
And somebody came in just like, what? This makes no sense. And I was like, I want you dead. Dead.
Just picture your boob like shoved through the slat of
yes,
the
as
crib.
this kid's like nursing. I mean, like, talk about, like, you know, like 3 years before that I'd been like hot in my bikini on the beach, and then all of a sudden it was like bleh. Not even 3 years, like a year and a half. And then I was like, well, that's all fucking over. You're now like this, like anyway.
Is it bad? Is it bad that is making me think of the scene in Go Back Couple when when Doc J has his head stuck in the fence in the gate?
He does. He gets his head stuck in the fence.
In the gate. Oh my god.
So, okay, who would, now that we've just overshared a lot about our, like,
our boobs,
listeners,
about our boobs.
Our boobs. Mm-hmm. This is a boob podcast.
You know what though? Those of you who have not had children, you have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and I mean, like, this is what the drama, like, and that's not to say that, like, yeah, I mean, this is just, like, this story really is centering on, like, that, I think, some of those feelings. Mm-hmm. And that was, like, part of the reason why we connected. So, who would love this drama, and who might not?
So I think anyone who loves a second chance romance will love this, but you have to have an open mind about the divorce aspect. Like, I don't think this drama is anti-divorce. And as somebody who is very pro-divorce or whatever works best for you, you know, I think this drama is looking at one facet of divorce and is more pro-marriage is hard and it's easy to lose sight of why we love the person we love.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. To me, this drama almost isn't really about divorce. I really think it's a second chance romance with two people who need to reconnect after some, adult things made them grow apart. So I would say anyone who likes a second chance romance with some humor, because there is a lot of very physical humor.
Very funny stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny. I almost felt like every single time there was like a really dramatic scene, there would be something funny right after it.
Yeah, it's got slapstick for sure, doesn't it?
Yeah. It definitely like some slapstick, yeah. So I would say I'm not so sure that this would appeal to a younger demographic, like high school viewers or maybe even college, because I really do think you have to have some sort of connection to kind of like either a long-term relationship or not. I don't think you have to like have kids, but I think you have to kind of understand a little bit about how adulting can turn things sour. I don't know how else to explain it.
It's a younger middle-aged drama, if that makes sense. Like, I would say that, like, I think this drama, like, bangs from, like, your, like, 30s to, like, your, like, early 50s, probably.
Probably.
And then anyone else can, like, connect as well, but I feel like that's the part where you're, like, kind of, like, in some of the shit, and, like, you know, I feel like those parts of your career where you're still trying to, like, hack certain things, like, you know, you kind of see, you know, like, him out, like, trying to, like, make it in his career, you know, like, I don't know, I just feel like there's certain things that kind of come, it's definitely, like, an over 30, I would feel like.
Yeah.
If you like the Reply series, you know, I think there's a good chance you might dig this. So first of all, I had this, like, pretty giant crush on the main actor, Son Ho-jun, in Reply 1994, and getting to see him, like, be a hero here was just lovely. I think he's got this personality that's very adorable, but then this, like, real warmth that's just like this mug of cocoa. And while this is a simpler plot than any of the Replies, and it's much shorter at 12 episodes, I feel like there's just, like, a couple of similar vibes, despite it having a different showrunner. Also, I think it's worth noting that both these characters have the opportunity to explore the possibility of love with other people than each other, and that's something that can make some viewers, and like within like romance, very upset. So personally, I think it's realistic and well done, but not everyone is willing to see the main couple have eyes for anyone else.
Yeah, I will say that I actually, in my romance, I don't like it. I actually really enjoyed how this drama handled all of it, which I think we're going to talk about once we get to the spoiler section. So.
Yep, absolutely.
So now it's time for our favorite part of every episode, which is our K-pop Rec of the week. So Megan, are you going to be talking about Jin and Super Tuna?
No, but I did see that. I did see that. Good for him.
Oh my god. Super Tuna's making me die, actually. And I think he's very, like...
It's like on the Billboard charts.
I don't feel like he intended it to get as big as potentially it got. He seems actively embarrassed by it, which may make sense considering the dance moves are ridiculous.
Aw, well, you know. Okay, so actually this week, I'm not actually sure if this group is considered K-pop or if it's more K-band. This group is called Xdinary Heroes. So it's like X, then Denary Heroes. And the song is called Happy Death Day. And the reason I'm recommending it is because it's truly not like anything that I have seen K-pop groups come out with. So I will say that this is a band. There are guitarists, there are keyboardists, there's a drummer. And the song is extremely catchy, has very much like a punk vibe. Just the whole thing feels really unique. They are with the same company as Stray Kids, so it's definitely an entertainment company that has a lot of money to promote them, and I definitely have been seeing them all over the place. So I hope they do well. Like, I'm really looking forward to see what else they put out. So, and again, they're the Xdinary Heroes, and the song is Happy Death Day.
So Megan sent us the video for this. I think it was it yesterday or the day before, and I didn't have a chance to watch it because I was at work, and I just watched it before the pod today, and I loved it.
Right? Isn't it really fun? And there's no choreographed dancing. Like, it's not it's not a K-pop. They're like
it's a video, right? Like it was it was different. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it felt like I was watching like a punk band video.
Yeah, kind of like poppy Green Day.
Yes, I would.
I'm curious if they're going to keep that vibe or if this was like a one-off.
Yeah, because it's definitely a little darker. Like, it's not. It's called Happy Death Day. If you want, like, you know, there's some like voice effects that they put on some of the singing, and it's just really unique. So I definitely recommend it to check it out for something different. And we'll put it on our Spotify playlist. And, well, speaking of our playlist, just a reminder that we have a Patreon, and it's been really rewarding for us to interact with all our patrons. If you are a Patreon, depending on the tier you choose, you can get an extra bonus episode every month. And you can also participate in a live chat with us that we call the K-Drama Support Group. So you can check it out. Look for us, Afternoona Delight Podcast, on Patreon. I'll have the link in the show notes. You can also head over to our website and look at our merch tab, because we do have some merch that would make fun Christmas gifts. We have pillows and shirts and all kinds of stuff. And our website is afternoonadelight.com.
Now we're getting into the spoiler section. So if you have not seen this drama and you feel enticed, you may want to go away and come back and listen to the rest after you've watched it. It is a pretty short drama, 12 episodes, and it's on Viki. Or, if you've watched it or, you don't mind about spoilers, stick around and we'll keep going. So for me, I just really needed to have us talk about the period scene and why this is just a 10 out of 10 moment.
I mean, you both had already watched it and knew, and then I got to this and I messaged you both on Slack and was like losing my shit, because this was one of the best scenes in a romance for me ever. Like, Bando very nonchalantly buying Jin Joo pads when she calls him from a public bathroom stall after getting her period, and then stopping himself before he pays because he realizes the package he has isn't the kind with wings. I'm sorry, like, just fucking stop. Like, for real, this was the scene where I was like, oh, I see, I am in love with Bando. And I am.
Yeah, I mean, I really did. I lost my shit, because it wasn't just the pads too. It was the fact that he got her, like, essentially pain medication, but he had to get her the kind with acetaminophen because ibuprofen hurt her stomach. I'm not sure. It might be vice versa. The point is, he knew exactly which medicine to get her, and I just, so it was this, like, mature familiarity, like, with her to get what she needs without making a scene or making it about him. Like, he wasn't like, oh, look how great I am for getting you what you need. And maybe that's me, because I've dated men in the past who I felt like they only did nice things because they wanted to, like, make a grand show, because they wanted it to be about them rather than actually about me. And so I'm always really attracted to that, when just kind of like the quiet things that your partner does for you. I mean, he wanted to ease her pain, and he knew what to do. Didn't make a big deal about it. And so sometimes I wonder if, like, spouses, particularly men, think we need big grand gestures, and, like, no. Especially if you've been married for a while and have kids. Like, I don't need flowers that are one more thing to keep alive, especially because my cats eat them.
Same. I'm like, tell me, I'm like, do not ever get me flowers, ever.
I don't want flowers.
Oh, really? I love getting flowers. Nick, you can get me flowers.
But I need a husband who will make late night runs for lice medicine when I find a bug in my daughter's hair, and return home with, like, the literal lice aisle from the pharmacy. I need a husband who, when he takes my car, he stops and gets gas when it's close to E, or he's at the grocery store and he sees something on sale that he knows I like. Like, it's those little things to me that are special. So this was just really huge to me. I love this scene so much. Like, this scene to me was romantic. Like,
it was.
It's crazy. I was like, I was like, this is actually one of the most romantic scenes I have seen. I just loved it so much. I got that, like, giddy feeling, in my stomach. And so I just, props to whoever wrote it. Props to Bando and the actor, just everything. It was fantastic.
So, we already talked about, like, earlier that, like, I have gotten to the point in life, kind of like I think Jin Joo got, where, like, we can't even, like, stand the sound of our partner's voice. But, like, we also even know, like, all their little habits and nuances. And because of that, like, I think we just do these acts of kindness sometimes. And that's, like, in some ways what love is. So, there have been times that I, like, haven't liked my husband, but I've always loved him. And I felt like this was, like, something that I saw with, like, Bando in this moment. Like, they still hadn't really, like, come together warmly, and I don't think he still particularly liked her at this point, but, like, in this act there was, like, love, and it felt like it was a real turning point to me too in the drama. where they started to like find their way back to each other. Like when he's like doing that little like weird, she like wanted her back to be kind of like gently punched, which was like,
yeah, it was like a weird little move.
Yeah, that's not a move I've ever, looked to get, but like it was obviously working for her and he knew to do it. So to me, this was like much better than like blowing on, a little boo-boo and putting a Band-Aid on it. This was like knowledge that only was gained from like close quarter living and vulnerability and like being able to count on, your significant other.
Did you,
well said.
Have you never gotten lower back pain with your period?
Yeah, but I don't want anyone touching me. Like, I would never want...
I mean, I've never tried that, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I get very bad lower back pain. Like,
Okay.
I truly do. But normally, I like to, like, curl up in a ball. Like, I almost do, like, what's that, like, the child's pose or something in yoga? That's what I do. I don't, like, if I have bad cramps, I don't want Neil within, like, 10 feet of me. And he knows it.
I don't really get cramps.
Oh, lucky.
Well, I don't anymore.
But I also...
Yeah. I do. Mine are bad.
In case listeners want to know, I don't have a uterus.
Good for... Don't rub it in. I'm honestly incapacitated for usually a day. Like, mine's really bad the older I get, so...
No. But I think I have, like, a womb that, like, doesn't function because, like, I never went into labor either, even with, like, the highest dose of Pitocin that I could have been given. I've had 3 kids and no contractions.
Okay, we're moving on. I don't want to talk about it.
Pitocin gives you...
I'm not breaking...
Pitocin gives you contractions, though, and they're horrible. Like, I had them.
No, I just sat and watched TV.
Are you serious? Like, you didn't even contract with Pitocin?
No. And I got the highest dose they could legally give me, and I realized I was, like, an X-Man of, like, unable to, like, have a contracting uterus.
Oh, my God. I was on Pitocin for 3 days.
Oy.
I was in labor for 3 days. Okay, we're not talking about this. You guys just make me angry.
So,
why? I was on Pitocin and it was terrible because even with the epidural, I felt every Pitocin contraction, and I was on Pitocin for almost 24 hours, and I finally told the nurse that we needed to do something else, and they gave me a C-section.
I had wolf music literally loaded up, and I was ready to get... Like, I had a whole birth thing, like, natural birth plan.
Of course
I literally had Howling Wolves that I was on my playlist, not ironically. I was, like, ready to freaking, like, go, like, Leonardo DiCaprio revenant in my labor ward. And, yeah, like, I was gonna, like, what, rip out the placenta and
You're gonna, like, eat a bear heart?
And then, like, freaking nothing.
Oh, my God.
So, anyway, moving on. Were you both satisfied with how things wrapped up for sweet second male lead, Nam Gil?
I thought he was a total sweetheart, but he also reminded me a lot of Good Boy from Startup. Like, he needed to come into his own first and reconcile his relationship with his mother. Like, he had his own familial, emotional boo-boos to contend with before he would truly be ready for love. So I think Jin Joo liking him in this version of reality after she said she wouldn't date him because he smelled, because he was all sweaty. I think at first it made her just some sort of boost to his ego, but then he got to know her, and he did genuinely like her, which is great that he was able to, like, have some sort of feelings, but I don't think they were the right kind of feelings. And again, poor little rich boy who needs to deal with his mama issues hurt caused by his family isn't truly ready for love yet. Like, not romantic love. And then, like, in the, flash forward, 18 years into the future, when we're back in present day and we see him as a doting father, and then we know that he turned out all right. So I was good with that.
Yeah, I love that fast forward where we saw him, as a father. That made me really happy. Like, I like that they gave him, like, a nice happily ever after. Like, I felt it was wrapped up. And I think his relationship with Jin Joo taught him a lot. And, like, basically, this is my TED Talk. He liked Jin Joo because she acted like a replacement mother, not a girlfriend. Like, she very much kind of mothered him. She did view him as a child. I mean, in the drama, she was mentally much older than him, and I think she viewed him, kind of as a kid. So she definitely mothered him, and I think that was what he was attracted to. And he really kind of mistook his, like, mommy issues for a crush, so don't bother trying to change my mind on that. I did find it interesting that there wasn't any sort of physical relationship between the second male lead and Jin Joo, as well as the second female lead and Bon-do. I actually found those relationships really nice because I feel like they both improved the lives of like those second leads positively, and I just like that they didn't get creepy.
Yeah, they did it without hurting them.
Yeah, but like I said, I found it a smart choice because I think it could get weird if they did any sort of physical relationship, just because of the mental ages of Bon-do and Jin Joo, and you know, these fairly young like college students. I think that could have been weird. So I thought the show treated those whole relationships really delicately and well, and made me really happy. Like, the second female lead was a sweetheart and really needed kind of almost a little guidance and like a friend, and he was basically Bon-do was basically just a really good friend to her, and I really loved that.
I also just like Bon-do was just like such like a get off my lawn sometimes, like being like, I go,
yeah. He's like, these kids these days have no idea, and his friends were like, what is wrong with you?
He was totally like this exasperated old man. I loved it.
Yeah, he was like a boomer. He was like a boomer in college. It was so cute.
It really was cute. So is there anyone who's passed away in your life that you wish you could go back and reconnect with? You know, we see this as like a main feature in Go Back Couple, where Jin Joo really has, the loss of her mom has really affected not only her, but also her relationship with her husband. And so being able to like have this chance to like go back and have reconnection was really healing. And so, yeah, that kind of like prompted this question for me, for both of you. And who would it be and why?
So I don't know that I need to reconnect with anybody that I lost to have any sort of healing, but so I've lost all my biological grandparents. Like, I don't have any, grandparents left. And I feel like, and this might just be my experience with my grandparents growing up, but because of, that 2-generation gap, I feel like even as an adult, I still felt like a child around my grandparents. And so I never really got to know them as people. And then once I lost them and realizing how much I lost in not, truly knowing them the way that I wanted to know them, and like learning things about them, after they passed and stuff like that, I just feel like it would be really comforting, I guess, to go back and sort of be like on a level playing field with, either of my grandfathers or grandmothers, and be able to talk to them just about like their life experiences as an adult who cares like what they went through, rather than just, what are you getting me for Hanukkah or something? I mean, like, I say that, jokingly, but like really, like, that's what grandparents are to you when you're growing up, is they're the people who are like always giving you presents and like babysitting, and like that's the extent of the relationship for a lot of people. And I would like to have something different than that.
Yeah, so my dad's uncle passed away when I was really young, and I don't remember him, but my older brother does, and it just makes me sad because there are so many stories that they tell about, especially my dad tells about his Uncle Sam, who he loved very much, and I've seen pictures of him, I think, like, holding me as a baby, but again, he passed away shortly after that, and so I just wish that I knew him, just because the stories about him seem really funny.
And I think for me, like, right around the time I was getting really invested in my relationship with Nick and, like, moving to Australia, one of my closest college friends was dying. She got diagnosed with melanoma, which, is quite unusual, especially for a young person. And I was with her at the time she got her diagnosis over the phone, and went to her first appointment with her at the doctor. And literally just had, like, no idea, really, that she was, like, facing down a death sentence. Like, I just didn't even comprehend that potential. And as it became clear that it was, like, more and more serious and, in, like, internal organs and things like that, like, I know I was a supportive friend, but I think that really I would do a much better job now, like, with another 20 years on me, where I think I would have just, like, have the maturity to make more space, listen without judgment, stay away from, like, any kind of toxic positivity, be comfortable asking, like, some more challenging questions that I was probably just too immature to even begin to know how to navigate. And so I just think I could have been, like, I think going back now, I could, like, be a better friend. And I just like miss her still. And I think about her at least once a week, if not more.
That's hard. I don't think I would have been able to be my best self at that age to a friend. That's hard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was the best I could be at that
age. Right.
But yeah, you think back and you're like, you know, gosh, somebody like is going through like life or death battle, and like we just didn't have the tools.
No, you're not equipped for that.
Right.
Yeah, to be as helpful as I think we could have been.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that. It's sad.
I know it is. So, okay, this is a fun one. How is Jin Joo's mom the real MVP in the drama?
Because she's Kiyong, our favorite Ajumma. But also, she was just the best mom to Jin Joo, even when she thought Jin Joo was like a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when she went back in time, because Jin Joo was like her shadow, and she didn't understand why. And it's because the two connect as mothers. When her mom figures out that her 20-year-old daughter is possibly from another time in her life, that Jin Joo is able to move on and go back home to her son, and 38-year-old self, where her mother is no longer living, the only way she's able to do that is because her mom tells her that she will get through losing her because of the joy she will have in raising her son. And this was another one of those moments where it just like hit me in my heart, because this scene was so poignant and heartbreaking and beautiful, because it was these two women connecting as mothers. Like, even though her mom didn't quite understand what was going on, she knew because of Jin Joo's, you know, crying out for Sejin in her sleep, and this connection with Bando, that she knew he wasn't this like stranger from school. And then she found the letter from Jin Joo and just kind of figured out, okay, I'm just going to believe that my daughter, something has happened and she has lived a life and has come back to me. And she got it, that like, you know, that Jin Joo was living without her in the future. And just this whole connection as mothers, and her basically saying, you're going to get through it and you're going to move forward because of being a mother. Like, you are going to be able to be without me because you have him, because you have your son. That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this mother storyline, man, I really think that this is what gave the drama so much depth and so much heart. So, I mean, the mother's death was a huge issue in their marriage. So, for those who haven't seen the drama, if you're still listening, so Jin Joo knew her mother was dying. She needed Bando to get home from work quickly, and he did not get home in time. To make it short, he did not get home in time, and she was not able to essentially like
for
see
reasons.
her mother.
He wasn't like chilling,
for reasons.
Yeah.
No. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't his fault. It was like a kind of shitty circumstance that he was not able to get home in time. She didn't see her mom one last time before her mom passed away, and she really carried that resentment
because she didn't really get what he had done either. Like, yeah,
right. But I mean, even so, like, she was resentful about it, and to be honest, it made sense. That what the issue was is they never worked it out. They never addressed it. So she was just she built up this resentment. Then she had a kid. She kind of realized what she was missing out on, not having her mother while she's raising her own son, and the issues built and built and built, and that was part of the main, I think, like catalyst or reason for the divorce.
And then afterwards, the fact that, like, he often was trying to cheer her up or, like, make her laugh or do those things when, like, that's not what she, you know, they just didn't realize what the other needed.
Right. Neither of them really communicated. He was like, look, I was just trying to cheer you up. And she's like, I just wanted you to be sad with me. I just wanted you to, like, sit and be sad with me. And
not try to fix it.
And not try to fix it. And so that's why this was so important. And so when she got to go back and be with her mother, and he loved her mother very much, like he really loved her. And so the first time he saw her mother, it, you know, hit him in the gut. And, you know, just this entire storyline really broke me. I mean, you know, I'm close with my mom, so mom storylines always get me. And this one was one of the most powerful, I think. You know, one of my greatest joys is like sharing, you know, my children's lives with my mother and my mother-in-law. And so the whole time I'm thinking, you know, if I didn't have that, it was just really, it was hard to watch. And so I, you know, and her mom was just such a wonderful mom. I mean, she was so kind and caring, and her mom was kind of, hearing from her mom was kind of what she needed to realize that holding on to this resentment of seeing her mom this like one last time was not worth it, basically. Or it was okay to maybe be angry about it, but you know, for your son and for your husband, you know, be happy.
Yep. And I think it also got me, like, in my own mothering feels. Like, I would hope that if my daughters came back and I realized kind of vaguely what was going on, you know, I'd cheer them on to live their best lives. And, you know, to get kind of, like, double down on, like, the cheese. Like, my parents are pretty boomery, and growing up they had Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, which is, like, a series of... Do either of you know this? Yes, no.
No. No.
So it's kind of like this like hippie book that's like it's like a series of poetry advice essentially, and it like really like throughout like my childhood it was always out. I think they thought it was like groovy. They liked it. So anyway, I know this book well. I read it a lot as a kid. And in it was like this one line that kind of like I've always thought about like having kids, which is basically like about children and saying that they come through you but not from you, and though they're with you they don't belong to you, essentially. I'm kind of paraphrasing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that part is like, I felt like that is something that is like the hallmark of being a good parent, right? Is like not expecting like your child to like they're their own person with like their autonomy, and like respecting that. And I felt like Jin Joo's mom was just such like a great mom and like did respect it, and she was like cool as well. And I felt like the way that she kind of like realized it, I mean, like, yes, like the drama has like some plot holes, and this was like a little bit of like they kind of like washed over like the mom kind of realizing what was happening, but I thought it was done in a way that like I actually wouldn't change it at all. And I felt like it was really like the mom being respectful of her daughter, happy for her daughter, and realizing that, like, her daughter was coming from a place where she wasn't there anymore. And needing to, like, be able to, like, give her daughter that strength to say that's okay. And, like, you need to, like, do you. It
was really well done.
So maybe a little bit of a more silly aspect. Thoughts on the second couple? I mean, I don't even know what... Like, maybe in our next I Have Questions we can look up South Korean cheerleaders, because I have so many questions about what was happening with the cheerleading.
So I loved everything about Jungmin and Bo-rum's relationship, except for Jungmin's fake muscles in the present day. And it took me like a couple of flash forwards and backs to be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, every time they flash forward to a present day scene, I was literally taken out of the moment because of his jacked arms that I knew were not real, because he didn't have those as a 20-year-old. So I kept looking at him and wondering like, what sort of prosthetic was he wearing? Because it looked like he had on like a full set of shoulders and bis and tris. Like, and I don't like, like, what was the point, like, of who he turned out to be? I don't know. But like, it brought me out of the scene every time we saw him in the present.
Yeah, well, I thought it was funny because they would have him wear like watches essentially to like cover and like a wristband to cover like the end of the prosthetic. You know what I mean? But I'm like, why? And he had such like this little head and like
and it looked like it was like this. Like, he had no neck because of it.
Yeah, it looked like an SNL skit, like with the
Hans and Franz from like the 80s.
Yeah, like Hans and Franz.
It really threw me.
I really say I loved Bo-rum so much. Like, I thought she was fantastic. I love how she could like drink every guy under the table, and I love how she was like really straightforward about kind of like what she wanted and who she liked. And yeah, I thought she was really fantastic, and I thought that their relationship provided a lot of fun, like, comedic relief. The cheerleader scenes were hysterical. I mean, their outfits were so great. So so I enjoyed that.
They dressed like they were like going to a medieval ball.
It was like a Mummers Day parade outfits. That's what
it was like. It was like part medieval, part like Bavarian.
Like what? Didn't even look like nothing South Korean. It was very weird.
And like I didn't realize they were cheerleaders at first until it was like mentioned. I was like, what kind of dance troupe is this?
Yeah, lots of confusion.
Yeah, dance.
And I really didn't get the muscle bit so much, but one thing I did want to share was, circling back to Grace, who originally recommended the drama, she shared something about this couple and their ending. So, we do know that they broke up, and like throughout the drama, I think it was always like a question of like what happened, because they kind of seemed weirdly perfect for each other as you like got into it. And I think in the penultimate episode, there was like this like mention within the subtitles that he was a third generation chaebol, and when they couldn't have children, she didn't want to cause him harm and left him. And what Grace said was that like there's like a pretty important like nuance there, which is that the direct translation shares not that he was a third generation chaebol, but that he came from a line of only sons. And so like, this was like a family that just had like one child, then one child, then one child. And so if he didn't reproduce, basically the family line was going to end. And so it's a big difference. And I felt like it, like I can see more why like that would have made her leave. But I am glad that they ultimately got their HEA, and also just like appreciation for Grace for sharing that, because I was confused when it was like the third generation chaebol. I was like, well, but like I got more like the difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. And then just as a segue, as we're talking about like the muscles, can we also just talk about the other friend's hair? Like, I couldn't take it seriously. And then when he went to the army and he got it cut off, I was like, oh my God, yes, obviously so much better.
Well, it was clearly like a wig, and he was uncomfortable with it. Like, you always, like the way he would brush it off his hair or off his forehead, with like all his fingers. It was like the whole thing.
Here's what cracked me up, is he wanted to be Brad Pitt from Legends of the Fall. And I had a poster from that movie.
Oh my God.
So when I was studying abroad in Scotland, that movie was in the theaters in Scotland, and I stole a movie poster from outside a theater and brought it home and put it in my teeny tiny little like Scottish dorm room. And it was Brad Pitt with his long locks.
Hey, he looked really good in Legends of the Fall.
Yeah, he did.
He looked great.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the best Brad Pitt iterations. So, just to wrap up, what else do you want to get off your chest regarding the drama?
I just want to commend the director, or, whoever made the decision that when Bando got hit by the white minivan or SUV of death, that when he did, nail that windshield and then roll off onto the ground, that there was no body-sized, like, blood puddle under him. I was so happy about that. but then they lost me at when he was in the hospital after he had surgery, and supposedly some surgery to his head, that he had a bloody gauze bandage taped to his hair, because apparently in South Korean cranial surgeries, they do not shave the incision site.
And because we watched Hospital Playlists, we know that's not true. And we know that his head would have been shaved properly if Song-Hwa was doing the surgery.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about the butterfly effect, both, like, the theory and then the movie. Like, did you guys see the Ashton Kutcher movie, Butterfly Effect? Oh, my God. That movie is, like, it's a mindfuck. But it's basically, like, one little, change, one little flap of a butterfly's wings has, like, exponential effects on the future or whatever. So I kept thinking, like, they're affecting all these people's lives. And, like... And, like, there's going to be, like, so many changes in the future. And then they go to the future and there's only this, like, a couple changes. Like, his parents are rich or whatever. So I kind of just had to, like, suspend my disbelief a little bit about that. But it made for a much happier drama. Because the butterfly effect was traumatizing, the movie.
Yeah, I think this was just, like, it had its plot holes. But, like, really, it was trying to make it was trying to make a point, not be, like, King Eternal Monarch.
Right.
Which, how I feel about those plot holes. So for me, I just want to get off my chest, Namgil's glasses and how damn good this man looks in glasses.
Yup,
He
yup.
does.
At
He looks
the
good in
end,
everything, but
yeah, I mean, he does. But the glasses, there's just something about, like, some of these dudes, like, you know, when I feel like they go for the wire glasses. Like, Ji Chang-wook, we've seen go this way before, too. And there's I really like it. And then, yeah, you kind of talked on this a little bit, but the fact that, like, Bondo's parents took all of his investment advice, and so in the future they're loaded. Because I feel like if I was Bondo, I would totally be going back to my parents, like, buy Apple stock! Buy Amazon stock! And so I, like, resonated with that. That was fun.
yeah.
So for Book Rec, Second Chance at First Love trope is always a favorite, I feel like. We've all written them ourselves. And I'll just share one that I did is called Last First Kiss. It's the first in my Brightwater series, and it's about a couple that kind of like was young high school, you know, sweethearts with, you know, but two families that were neighbors that like had like adjacent properties and didn't like get along at all. And they end up like getting ripped apart and then coming back together when she is a single mom who returns to her mountain small town, and you know, her former, you know, first love / neighbor is now the small town sheriff. And so there's a bit of motherhood in there too, and a kind of sexy scene where he does the dishes and then puts her on the table and kind of has her for dinner, I guess.
Nice. Perfect.
I've read this one.
So.
I will agree there. Yes.
So what are we all watching?
So I, on Megan's recommendation, like I needed just something to feel good, and Megan just recommended Kiss Goblin, and so I watched the first episode this evening before the pod because I just wanted something nice and fun, and I enjoyed it, and I'm probably going to watch the rest of it later tonight.
Yeah, actually, a listener, Jody, recommended that, and it's only 12 episodes, and they're only 12 minutes long. It's super short, and the second male lead from My Roommate is Izagumio is the lead, and he's very attractive. It's a really cool premise. It's short and sweet. It's like eating a cookie. I really enjoyed it. So if you need something short and sweet, excuse me, you can check out Kiss Goblin on Viki. So I am watching Happiness. So by the time this podcast airs, Happiness will be over. But we're recording it when there's 2 episodes left. And I am stressed, in italics and bold. So Happiness is basically there's a virus outbreak in the very near future that makes people kind of act like zombies. They want to drink blood. And so the cast of characters is basically quarantined in an apartment building and follows shenanigans where, of course, sometimes the humans are deadlier than the actual infected. So anyway, I'm enjoying it. I just really want to finish it because I'm stressed. And then I am doing my Healer rewatch. And it just makes me so happy. I forgot how freaking adorable Park Min Young is in this. I just adore her.
I still would like to rewatch that on my own time. I'm doing rewatch of Reply 1988, and it's totally delightful. It's making me feel all the happy feelings I had the first time I watched it. And that's nice because it's balancing out like the angst I'm having watching King's Affection, which is really good, honestly. Like, I need to just like, yeah, I feel like, I know you don't all love historicals, but this is like a gender swap that I feel like is interesting because a lot of times when like you find out that the hidden gender is like revealed, that's like the end of the relationship, or, you know, like not the end of the relationship, the end of like the big tension. But in this case, she's the king. So, like, the tension is still pretty high because even once, like, you know, the guy finds out that, like, the he is actually, like, a woman and, like, you know, whatever, there's still a lot of conflict because she's actually, like, been crowned the king. And so there's, like, real drama there when, like, the king is actually having to, like, hide their gender on pain of death. And so I have no idea how they're going to wrap this one up. It's a pickle.
I think it's a really cool premise.
I do too.
It is. So, all right. Well, and then next week I will wrap up some talk on BTS, Permission to Dance. So excited. Megan's going to get into some of the AT's comeback and, preparing for her concert. So we're going to kind of just do like a fun K-pop / some K-pop and drama, but mostly just pretty heavy on the K-pop side. And that's kind of a one-off. We're not going to take that as a new direction for the pod, but...
Correct. But because she went to a concert, and we actually have had requests for her to talk about her experience. So, we want to give people what they want to hear.
Yeah, we need a deeper into this. We do.
Let me talk about Namjoon and Suga.
All right. Well, on that note, we are going to wrap it up for today and say to everybody,
Annyeong!
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Make sure to subscribe for more great K-romance conversation. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Afternoona Delight Podcast for more information on our podcast, behind-the-scenes photos, and, of course, pics of our favorite oppas and anis. Annyeong!